Hello guys, my name is proofSzilko. Welcome back to another PUBG tutorial. I'm excited to bring you today's video because it helped me a lot to get better in the game and rank within the top 10 on the leaderboard. So today's tips and tricks video will be about my top 5 aiming tips, ranking from beginner level like basic aiming techniques all the way up to the pro level like zeroing and hitting moving targets from distance. So whether you just started with PUBG or you're already an advanced player, I recommend you to watch the full video as I'm pretty sure you will learn something from it. So let's just jump right into it. Coming up at tip number 1. I know that for a lot of you it's really hard to get used to the aiming mechanics since there's no aim assist in PUBG on console. So finding the right sensitivity settings for yourself is essential. But until the time you get used to aim with the right stick properly, I recommend you to use the left stick only to adjust your aim and get your target in your crosshair. So as you can see on this image, I have targets in front of me. To hit almost all of them, I used only the left stick, so I didn't even touch the right stick. I used only the left stick to strafe to the right and to the left, and with the help of the recoil, I managed to hit almost all of the targets. And the other purpose is good for, while you're moving sideways, it will be really hard for your enemy to hit you. So you can hit two birds with one stone. So go to the training mode and try to practice as much as you can. And as soon as you feel ready, try to hop on a server with real players and test this skill. Moving on to tip number 2. I briefly mentioned this in one of my previous tips and tricks videos, but I want to get into more details regarding this. It makes a huge difference in your recoil if you're standing, crouching or going prone. With only compensating with the right stick, I managed to reduce my recoil, but I can reduce it even more if I crouch or go prone. So if you want to have a better aim, don't forget to crouch at least or go prone, because in these positions you won't have to pull back the right stick too hard, so you will do much better in aiming. Tip number 3. If you're in a CQC situation, crouch behind cover and aim at your enemy by leaning over your cover and use the so-called soft aim technique. If you're on controller type B, holding the L1 button will go into soft aim, so you will have a wider FOV. And with this technique you can track your target, and since you're behind cover, it will be really hard for him to hit you. As you can see on this footage, I was aiming from behind my cover by leaning over it, and even with the soft aim I managed to hit the target multiple times. I use this aiming technique in most of my CQC endgames and I never regret it, so I highly recommend to all of you to use this as much as you can. Tip number 4, this is when it gets a little bit harder. If your target is more than 100 meters away, you're gonna have to adjust your aim to still hit it. You can estimate your target's distance by looking at the minimap. Each line on it represents 100 meters. So just find an object close to your enemy and locate it on the minimap. With this technique, you can roughly estimate his or her distance from you. And now you will have two options to adjust. First is to compensate with your aim. So if your target is more than 100 meters away, try to aim a little bit higher than him or her, or the other option is to use zeroing to adjust your scope. All of the scope zeroing is set to default, which is 100 meters, but by tapping up and down on the D-pad you can adjust it. For example, if your target is 400 meters away, set your zeroing to 400 so you can aim with your scope exactly where your target is. And I saved the most difficult tip for the end of this video. If you wanna hit a moving target from distance, you have to use the so-called 1-to-100 rule. I mentioned this rule in one of my previous tips and tricks videos approximately 1 year ago, so I think it's time to refresh it. Basically, the 1-to-100 rule means that if your target is moving perpendicular to you, you have to adjust your aim like someone else would run in front of him or her. You have to compensate more depending on the distance, of course. For example, if your target is 300 meters away, you have to add 3 body shapes in front of him or her to be able to hit all of your shots. Now you have to know that if you're aiming at a moving target, you shouldn't use zeroing at all. You have to learn to compensate with your scope, so I recommend you to launch the training mode and keep practicing until you can confidently hit your target with all of your shots. So that's all I had for you today guys. I really hope you found this video useful. If you did so, please don't forget to leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe for more PUBG content like this if you're new here, and I see you in the next one. Bye.